Sat Sri Akal. It's wonderful to see you all, and thank you so much for being here this evening. Many of you I know. I'm Gail Stearns. I'm the Dean of the Wallace All Faiths Chapel, which is this beautiful space that you are sitting in right now. This evening, I want to open, this is not in the script that I was given, but I'm going to open with some deep gratitude to two very special people. And that is Vicky and Gurpreet Singh. Vicky's over here, and Gurpreet is here. Vicky, someone said to me this evening, I'm with Vicky, and I said, I think we all are. I think Vicky is the reason we are here. We're all with Vicky. So Vicky serves on the Board of Governors here at Chapman University, and Gurpreet serves on the Interfaith and Church Relations Trustee Committee here at the Fish Interfaith Center. And every year they invite international students at Chapman to their home for a lovely banquet and a welcome. It's an event that has grown in size every single year. Over the last dozen years that I've been here as dean, and I'm confident they will continue for many years to come, you have really enabled so many students to learn about Sikhism and interfaith understanding at Chapman, and I am so deeply grateful to you. You also may have noticed, I'm sure you noticed when you walked in, the beautiful sculptural showcase that is dedicated to Sikhism that was also brought here because of generous donations as part of your community, and I'm so grateful for that. So many things here. Niranjan is here. Where's Niranjan? Yeah, right in front of me. Niranjan served on the advisory council of the Fish Interfaith Center when I first came for quite a while, and so I wanted to thank you for that. And I also wanted to thank one other person who's sitting among us who actually has been instrumental in all of these years of all of these gatherings, and that's Charlene Baldwin. And Charlene is Dean Emerita of the Leatherby Libraries. And I just saw another person walk in who's also been instrumental all these years, and that's Ezra Nawar. Ezra is the Diversity and Development librarian at Leatherby Libraries. So I just want to thank each and every one of you and in the incredible friendships that are formed in this place, and thank you for your presence this evening. We are honored to have a number of community representatives here this evening, so I'd like to recognize some. I didn't double check that every single person I'm about to name is here, but I'm trusting so, yeah? Okay, so I'd like to recognize members from Congresswoman Michelle Steele's and Young Kim's offices are here. Chairman Don Wagner, 3rd District Orange County Supervisor. In a minute, I'm going to have you have a chance to come on up, so I'll just name you. Mayor Jean Hernandez, City of Yorba Linda. Mayor Pro Tem Tara Campbell, City of Yorba Linda. Councilman Victor Cabral, yeah. City of San Clemente, and many other politicians joining us here this evening. We're happy that you're here. I understand that some have brought certificates and recognitions, and so what I'd like to do is I'm going to say a little bit about some of you, and then I will invite you forward to just be down here, have a photo if you'd like to hand those to Vicky, and then we'll invite some others to come up after you. Chairman Wagner from County's 3rd District is currently chair of the Orange County Board of Supervisors and serves on several committees. Chairman Wagner is a practicing attorney and former South Orange County Community College District trustee, has served 6 years in the California State Assembly, and has been the past mayor of Irvine. Chairman Wagner's executive assistant, Pat Buttress, is also with him this evening. They brought a resolution from the Board of Orange County of Supervisors recognizing the contributions of the Sikh community to the prosperity of Orange County and declaring April as Sikh Awareness Appreciation Month in Orange County. So I'd like to invite those folks up, and also Shavinderjeet Singh, chairman of the Sikh American Engagement Committee, delegate from the 40th Congressional 32nd Senate and 59th Assembly District, and Planning Commissioner Chair Pro Tem, City of Yorba Linda, and Vaisakhi Singh, founder of Sikhlens. If you could come on up and just have your photo together. Thank you. Also with us this evening, City of Yorba Linda Mayor Jean Hernandez and Yorba Linda Mayor Pro Tem Tara Campbell, with a proclamation from the Mayor of Yorba Linda and Yorba Linda City Council declaring April 14th as a sick day every year in the City of Yorba Linda, and recognizing Chapman University and Sikhlens Dr. Ginny Kaur for their dedication. And so accepting these proclamation will be myself and Vaisakhi and Kaprit Singh and Dr. Ginny Kaur. And finally, I understand that that Abigail Fackman, are you here? Good, all right, from Congresswoman Michelle, she's representing both Congresswoman Michelle Steele's office and Congresswoman Young Kim's office to present certificates of appreciation to Chapman University, and that would be me as Dean, and Vaisakhi and Kaprit Singh, and Dr. Ginny Kaur for our commitment in promoting interfaith harmony, tolerance, and peace within our community, and our dedication to creating a welcoming and inclusive environment for all. Thank you so much. It's really wonderful to have you all here. It's now my honor to introduce our first speaker this evening. Dr. Kang has served as medical director of the hospitalist program in Maryville since 2009 and is now transitioning to the position of medical director, Blue Shield of California. A practicing physician and community activist based in Yuba City, California, he has served on the boards of many nonprofits. He co-founded the Punjabi American Heritage Society in 1991 and the Punjabi American Festival in 1995 to foster cross-cultural understanding. He helped to create the first permanent museum exhibit documenting the history of Punjabi Americans at a local museum in Sutter County, California. He served as coordinator for the book California's Pioneering Punjabis, An American Story, which we have in the lobby. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kang.
Good evening. Vaiguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaiguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm really honored and delighted to be here. My presentation is to share our history, how we ended up here. I mean, I know all of you, or your parents, or your grandparents, or your great-grandparents came to US from somewhere. So we often get this question asked, how the Sikhs got here, and when did they come here? So I don't have an exact date. I did a lot of research. I will say it's anywhere from 135 to 150 years. So we just came up with this book, which is available outside. You know, we all have different American stories. So this is another American story. The picture at the bottom is from 1929. So this was the last emperor of Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He was very progressive and very inclusive ruler. He had people from different backgrounds serving in his army or in his administration. At that time, you all know the East India Company, which later on became called British Raj in India. They were already in India. They kind of waited for him to die because they were so scared. They were not willing to even fight with him. So after his death, it only took about 10 years for English army or British army to take over the Punjab. So it's very important information that English sent their agents to Punjab during Maharaja Ranjit Singh's regime. They found the literacy rate and per capita income in Punjab was better than many European countries. So first thing, when British took over Punjab, they did two things. One was to disarm, because in Punjab everybody was trained how to fight. So they disarmed the people, asked them to deposit their weapons, and also they burnt all those books which were used to teach people Punjabi, and that was the strength, that how he created a fabric of society very secular and very inclusive. So that was gone. Then communities were put against each other. So initially English thought we should suppress especially the Sikh men, because Sikh men were very good soldiers. But as you know, they were very smart. They were superpower. They thought, why not we do this? Why not we hire them in British Indian Army and use them as mercenaries? And it will do two things. One, we will get a good fighting soldiers. And secondly, they won't cause any problem in Punjab, and there won't be any rebellion. So they hired large number of Sikh men into British Indian Army. And before I go to this slide, so what happened, they took all those Sikh men to Singapore, Malaysia, Indochina. So the Sikhs were very good soldiers, and then gradually the Sikhs and British became very good friends, because it worked for both sides. So this is just my personal feeling that human spirit is stronger than any man-made weapon or power on this planet. So how we ended up here? People come to America for same reasons. We want better life, more freedom. Sometimes we get kicked out of our homeland. Sometimes political views, or sometimes your family is here, or sometimes many other reasons. War, medical tragedies. So this is one of the first documentation I could find from one of the newspapers you're probably all familiar, like you have LA Times. In our area, we have San Francisco Chronicle. This news is from April 6, 1899. I know it's going to take me a couple of, maybe a minute or two to read it, but it's very important to corroborate or support what I said earlier. So it says, the 4 Sikhs who arrived on Nippomaru the other day were permitted yesterday to land by immigration officials. The quartet formed the most picturesome group that has ever been seen on Pacific Mall dock for many a day. One of them, Bakshish Singh, speaks English with fluency. The others were just little. They are all fine-looking men. Bakshish Singh is particularly being a marvel of physical beauty. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, built in proportion. His companions, Booth Singh, Baryam Singh, Sohawa Singh, are not quite so big. All of them have been soldiers and policemen in China. They were in Royal Artillery, and the tall one with unpronounceable name was a police sergeant in Hong Kong. So what happened when these folks were in British Army, when they started retiring, some of them were more adventurous. They said, let's go a little further. So some of them started trickling to West Coast, all the way up to Canada. There's a story that one of the British regiment went through in Canada on railways for Queen Victoria's 25th celebration. But many of the folks who came earlier had army experience. So this gentleman in the middle is Bakshish Singh, and there's a little girl in his lap. Her name is Kartar Kaur Dillon. And I had the opportunity to interview her, and I'm going to play you a video clip to show you when these folks here came to US, how they were treated. So let's listen from her. They had any problems getting jobs? I know it was hard for everybody, but was it different for Sikhs because they look different, or was it just like anybody else?
No, it was not like anybody else. They looked upon Sikhs and Indians generally as freaks, as though we had come out of a circus or something. There was great cruelty against our people. There was, I just wish, when I answer questions like this, that I had the facts at my fingertips, but I don't. There was a Bellingham, Washington, state of Washington, where there was a massacre of our people. That was some of the worst things. And then there was something in Wheatland in California, where people were also murdered, and there was a number of incidents of very cruel things done to our people. Outside of the fact that, about the getting work, our people always got work because they were such good workers. If they were in California, then they were already in Punjab. They had been farmers, and they knew what to do and how to take care of the land and cultivate things. If they were in Oregon, where the lumber industry was, then they were such hard workers, but they were paid less. This was the discrimination. They got one rate of pay, and the European immigrants who were workers got a higher rate of pay. And they were very...
For sake of time, I'm going to skip the details, but this is just to give you a feeling that how things were in California at that time. I'm talking a little more than 100 years ago. So I was lucky to meet her. She's no longer alive. That's like a 24, 23-year-old interview. So this is what she was going to refer. This is from Marysville, a story. So this is how the media portrayed Sikhs. Because at that time, India was ruled by British. And it shows that neither the British wants them, and neither do the Uncle Sam wants them. And it shows a Sikh man with a cigarette. As you know, you will find Sikhs doing all kind of crazy things. You will rarely or never find a Sikh smoker, because it's kind of one of the forbidden things, just like you will never find a Jewish guy eating a pork, because it's against their faith. So this is how media can misrepresent you if there is no accountability. This is from San Francisco Chronicle, August 13, 1910. So let's talk about some laws. 1790 Naturalization Act restricted the citizenship to only white folks. Afro-Americans were allowed citizenship after Civil War in late 19th century. 1913 Alien Land Act, only citizens able to lease or buy land. 1917 Immigration Act barred immigration from India, Siam, Indochina, and other parts of Asia. Well, there are always people who are looking for a way out. So there's a story. There was a Japanese American born in Hawaii. He was very white looking, very fair. So he went to US Supreme Court asking to get citizenship, because I'm a white guy. US Supreme Court said, no, you are a white guy, but you're not Caucasian. So then one of the Sikh guy, because most of the Punjabis or North Indians are Caucasian by race, although we are a little brown, but biologically, from race point of view, we are all Caucasian. So this gentleman, Bhagat Singh Thind, who was a Berkeley student, and he was also a World War I veteran, because there was exemption if you serve in the army that you can apply for citizenship. So he went all the way to the US Supreme Court. You know what did the Supreme Court say? Yes, you're a Caucasian by scientific terminology, but not by a common man's perception. So his petition was denied. So after this, many Asian Indians lost their citizenship. And even in California, interracial marriages were illegal. So let's move forward. So what did these folks did when they came here? Well, some of them worked on lumber mills. This is a picture from 1905. Some of them worked on building railway lines, highways, and some have started doing farming. I'll come to that in a second. Highway 80 from Oakland to Salt Lake City, it used to be called Highway 40. About 3,000 Sikh men worked on building that highway, but you will not find any mention in kind of popular domains. So this is a picture of the first property owned by Sikhs, Indians, South Asians, anybody. This is the first property. This is a Stockton Gurdwara, also known as Stockton Sikh Temple, built in 1915, because there was exemption in a law that you can build a place of worship. So this temple was built in 1912. This picture is from 1915. Some folks thought that maybe we are not treated very well here. Maybe we need to go back and liberate our country from British rule. So I will say a lot of inspiration to India's freedom movement came from America. A lot of people got exposed to democracy and they went back. But many of them were arrested or jailed and spent their lives. So that was just for information, Ghadar Party, or a party of revolution for India's freedom, was formed in California. And they used to meet at Stockton Gurdwara. And, well, people will always find a way. So what did Punjabi men do? They started marrying Mexican women, because Mexicans were already in California, because California was a Mexican territory before it became part of US. So nobody noticed brown person marrying another brown person. So a lot of Sikhs married Mexican women, and they were able to own properties and buy properties in their wives' names. And before I go to that, there was another thing a lot of Sikh men did. They made friendship with some white friends who were good to them. So they will buy a property in their name and then will lease. They say, okay, I'll give you 10%, I'll just buy a property on your name. And a lot of people kind of did that kind of business, and it worked out very well. But there are a lot of stories about it. There's one bad story, which probably I don't have time to share, but if you ever have a time, go and Google Pakhar Singh Gill's story. So, okay, let me go back. Well, let's talk about, now I all talked, so far I talked negative things. Let's talk something positive. The beauty of America is our Constitution is very fair. And if you fight within the system, you fight, get the legal help, and you lobby for your cause, if there is a wish, there is a way. So after intense lobbying by our folks, the Lucy Seller Act of 1946 was passed, which opened the doors for citizenship for people from India. So to me, that was a big step. What it did, this gentleman, you probably may have heard about him, Mr. Dalip Singh Sond, he had a law degree from Berkeley. He could not become citizen. He came here in 1914. He married a Caucasian woman. She has to give up her citizenship to marry him. But in 1946, he became a citizen, then he became a judge, then he became a US congressman 3 times. This is Dalip Singh Sond. So I tell every person who came from India to pray to this statue, because President Lyndon Johnson in 1965 went there and gave this speech, which removed the quota system. Like there was quota for certain countries and certain countries were barred. This removed the quota system, and that opened the door to a lot of people from Punjab or India to come to US. So this is what happened in Yuba City, at least where I come from. A lot of people moved there, a lot of families came. So that's the history. Then what is the recent history which caused the migration? This time, America was very gracious and accepting of Sikhs. 1984, when Indian Army invaded Darbar Sahib or Golden Temple, the model you were talking about, because there was a struggle for greater autonomy or decentralization of power. It ended very badly, a lot of human rights violations, a lot of bad things happened, a lot of people lost their lives. It was almost a genocide. But that led to exodus of a lot of educated people or people who could get out of there. And this time, America gave thousands of Sikhs asylum in this country. So let's give a big clap to America. So it opened door to a lot of successful people. This is a picture of one of a big farmer from Yuba City. He's known as a Peach King. And you probably heard name of Dr. Kapani, Narendra Singh Kapani. He founded the principle of fibro optics. That technology is literally used in everything. And we have one gentleman among us here who worked with Steve Jobs. I'd like to recognize Sardar Satjeev Singh Chahal. Please stand up. I mean, you can go and Google him. He has been a marketing guru for Apple, for HP, for IBM. It's amazing. We're so honored to have you here, Mr. Chahal. Thank you. So people did really well. I mean, there are so many stories that this country gave us the great opportunity and opened the doors to unlimited success. Then what happened? Then 9/11 happened. Then turban became like a symbol of terrorism. Anybody saw a turban, they thought these guys are from Middle East or they are enemies of this country, and there was a lot of ignorance. A lot of bad things happened. So I think I don't really have time to explain different kind of turbans. I personally think nobody should be discriminated based on their appearance. A lot of Sikh organizations were formed to lobby for civil rights. I mean, that was an eye-opener for us. Hey, this is my country. This is my responsibility to educate everybody who I am. So even while I'm here, I feel we need to educate our fellow Americans to tell them, hey, we are just Americans like you. We may dress differently. We may look differently, but we believe in same values. So it led to a lot of hate crimes against, I think the worst victims were the taxi drivers. A lot of stories in media. This gentleman, I know him personally. This is me many years ago with him in front of White House. His two brothers died in hate crimes. Two brothers. So what happened if you challenge a Sikh? So this is a picture of Fauja Singh, the oldest marathon runner in the world. So he ran marathon in 6 hours, 54 minutes. So after 9/11, he came to New York. Everybody started calling him Osama, Osama. So he got so pissed up, he started running faster. And he finished his marathon in 5 hours, 40 minutes at the age of 92. So there are few, I mean, this country has given tremendous opportunity. There are still few barriers, like Sikhs still have some restrictions to serve in army, but it's getting better. So this is a picture of Simanpreet. It took him a while to get permission to serve in army with his turban. Although there are many professionals, doctors, engineers, but it's very hard to get in Marines and others, but it's getting better. So this is a story of a young man, although he was not a turban Sikh, but he was a Sikh. He died for US, fighting for US in Iraq. It took almost a year to find the Sikh symbol to be placed on his stone at the Arlington Cemetery. So that's where we need to educate more and more. I mean, now there are Sikhs in law enforcement. This was the first gentleman actually from your area. I don't know if he's here. Can you stand up, Jagjeet? So, thank you. So this is like Sikhs went all the way up to President Bush at that time. I think my time is almost end. So this is a young father thinking, there's a little boy in his lap, should I keep him as a Sikh or not? That's a difficult question every parent faces. The solution is more education, more education. There are books. This is an approved book as a school curriculum. If any of you are a teacher, this book can be used in schools. The new laws have been passed in California against discrimination and including history about Sikhs in textbooks. A lot of good things have happened. This is my assemblyman. He's was the first one to introduce this resolution about Sikh Appreciation and Awareness Month in California. So I'm almost done. So this is called, we say America is a melting pot. That's Balbir Singh, the brother of Rana Sodhi who died. Do you really want to melt everybody? If you melt everybody, America will look like this. Or you want America to look like this. We all could be different colors, different styles, but we all add to the beauty of this country. And I will end with this. God bless America. Truth is higher, but higher still is truthful living. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really wonderful. And welcome all these celebrities we have among us that he's been pointing out. I suspect there are more. And now we will hear not particularly a speech, but we're in for a treat. Shivpreet Singh is the 10th direct descendant of celebrated 17th century Sikh poet Bhai Nandela Goya. He is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and multimedia artist based in California. He is founder of the Dun Anand Foundation, a nonprofit corporation focused on supporting artists serving the planet. Shivpreet pioneered a new genre of Indo-American music that brings together melodic intricacies of Indian classical music, instrumentation and harmonic elements of Western music, contemporary musicians from around the world, as well as philosophy and poetry of diverse traditions focused on oneness. Over 20 million minutes of Shivpreet's music are listened to annually by audiences around the world. On the business side, he's the founder and CEO of Bioraman Pharmaceuticals, a biopharmaceutical company involved in the discovery and research of oncology medicine. He's the co-founder of Stonegate Bio, a healthcare advisory services firm based in Dallas, Texas. Shivpreet is an accomplished business professional focused on healthcare and was one of the leading equity research analysts in the US and covered the biotechnology sector and was rated among the top 3 biotechnology analysts by Forbes in the US. His opinion on the US biotechnology sector has been widely quoted in the US media. He has a bachelor's from UC Berkeley and an MBA from the University of Chicago. And when I asked him how to explain what he's about to do, Shivpreet said, this is not a performance, because a performance would be something that a person does looking outward and putting outward. I'm paraphrasing. But this is a meditation, because a meditation is one in which you take something in and you bring it inward. So Shivpreet Singh will now lead a meditative kirtan on the garland of Guru Nanak.
Dear beloved, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. In the 15 or 20 minutes, I'll share maybe 2 or 3, maybe 3 of the flowers of Guru Nanak. The bouquet that we sing are really flowers. These are poems that get inside you and bring ecstasy. And these are flowers. And that's the garland of Guru Nanak. And I speak about Guru Nanak as if he's here with us, even though he was born apparently 550 years ago. Because he's with me, I feel it, because these are his words and these are his rags, his melodies. And they're alive here because I sing them and also because you're going to be singing them with me. If you don't understand what I'm singing, don't worry, I don't fully understand what I'm singing either. It's a process. It's taken me 45 years, so if you've only listened to this for 5 minutes and don't, it's okay. Just immerse into it like you immerse into a flower, and you don't understand what the flower is saying to you, but you know it's beautiful, and you get its essence. In the evening time, Guru Nanak sings, Gagan mein tha Rav Chand Deepak, Bane tar ka mandal Janak moti, Dhoop malan lo Pavan chavro, Kare sagal ban raye Phulant jyoti, Kare sagal ban raye Phulant jyoti. Phulant is flowers and jyoti is a light. The light of the flowers is with us. When I was walking down, coming into this hall, I smelled jasmine and I couldn't see it. I was like, wow, this is the most beautiful essence. Rati Rani, what we say. It's right here, beautiful campus here, right? And I could smell it. It was so amazing. I knew there was beauty here. And now I smell the beauty of the flowers of Guru Nanak. This beautiful flower, he says, Gagan mein thal Rav Chand Deepak bane tar ka mandal janak moti. Nobel laureate from India, Rabindranath Tagore, when he was asked, why don't you write, you've written the national anthem of India, why don't you write a national anthem for the universe? He says, I can't write it because it's already written by Guru Nanak. Gagan mein thal Rav Chand Deepak, on the platter of the sky, and Guru Nanak explains how to do a prayer. And we use flowers to do prayers. We offer flowers. He says, Gagan mein thal, on the platter of the sky, my Lord has put all these stars, and they're circumambulating the earth. It's like an arti, it's like a prayer that's ongoing. What kind of little candle can I light for this Lord when the Lord has lit the stars in the sky and is doing the most marvelous prayer? Who am I to do a prayer? And who am I to offer flowers to this Lord when Dhoop malan lo pavan chavaro kare. When I walk in the forest, the wind carries, like it carried today, the essence of all the flowers, and it's so beautiful. What kind of flowers do I offer to the Lord that is filling this forest with flowers and is fulfilling the beauty of outside and within? We've heard all these lines. Let me share with you a meditation that I've been doing recently. Some lines that you perhaps haven't heard, but they're from Guru Nanak. Nanak gupasma mal Nanak gupasma mal Nanak gupasma kaya komal phul guna kaya komal phul guna avar kachuniye dal Nanak gupasma Nanak Gupas Mal. Nanak, I, because the Guru is within, I, Gupas, is weaving mal, mala, a garland. The Guru here, he says, I am weaving a garland of these flowers, the flowers that we saw in that beautiful picture that Dr. Kang just showed us. What makes us beautiful? He says, I'm weaving a garland. This is the garland of the Guru's life. This is the garland that enriches us. He says, Nanak Gupas Mal, but what kind of flowers go in this garland? What kind of flowers? He talks about them. He says, and it's true, we are all flowers. Kaya Komal Phul Guna Kaya Komal. The body of this flower is soft. Kaya Komal. The body of this flower is soft. Phul Guna. And the flowers are the virtues. I have taken my good deeds and I'm taking those virtues and making a garland out of them. What is the Guru? The Guru is Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Puravta. Nirbhav Nirvair. Why do we love people who give and who serve others? Because they are nirvair. Why do we love the Ukrainians? Because they are nirbhav. They're fearless in the face of tyranny. Right? These are the virtues that make the flower of Guru Nanak. He says, Nanak Gupas Mal Kaya Komal Phul Gun. And then he adds to that. Kaya Komal Phul Guna Nanak Gupas Mal. Eni phuli ro kare, eni phuli ro kare, avar kachuniye dal, dal avar kachuniye dal. I am weaving a garland, he says. The garland is of these flowers of my virtues. Any phuli ro kare, and it is these flowers that my Lord loves. It is these flowers that my Lord loves. Avar ke chuniye dal. Nanak Gupas Mal, avar ke chuniye dal. What other branch, what other tree should I go pluck flowers and offer to the Lord? The best body and the best branch, avar ke chuniye dal, the best branch to pick a flower from is, he says, our own body. Higher than truth, you heard from Dr. Kang. Higher than truth is truthful living. He's saying, if you're living a virtuous life, if you're living your life like a flower, that's the flower that you offer as the offering to the Lord. The life offering is the offering of yourself as a flower. And what happens when you make this offering. One really cool thing about Guru Nanak is he's not taking his own flowers and making a garland out of it. Wherever he goes, he travels so much. He collects the poetry that reminds him of oneness. He collects the poetry that reminds him of how virtuous these flowers are. And he adds them and he sings. And so he sings Kabir, the most celebrated poet from India, just like he sings himself. And he sings Mauli Dharti, Maulya Akas, Ghat Ghat Maulya Atam Pragas. And I'm just going to sing, this is Rag Basant. It's sung during the time of spring. I'm just going to sing, it's the same rag, and I'm going to sing a couple of lines from this Bhagat Kabir Shabad. And weave into this what these flowers are and what happens when you weave the flowers of virtues. What happens? Kabir explains. Mauli dharti maulya akas, mauli dharti maulya akas, mauli dharti maulya akas, ghat ghat maulya atam pargas, ghat ghat maulya atam pargas, mauli dharti maulya akas, mauli dharti maulya akas, Raja Ram maulya अनंत भाए जह देखो तह रहा समाए मौली धरती मौलया आकाश मौली धरती मौलया आकाश घट घट मौलया आत्म परगास घट घट मौलया आत्म परगास मौली धरती मौली धरती मौलया आकाश. Kabir Sahib says, when you weave these virtuous flowers, what happens? He says something crazy and magical happens. Mauli means blossoming, like a flower. Mauli and dharti means earth. He says, the earth, all of the earth that I see. Have you noticed when you go to a hill that's covered with these yellow flowers, how beautiful it looks? He says, Mauli dharti, the whole earth is blossoming. That makes sense. Okay, you look out and the earth is blossoming. And then he says, Mauli dharti, maulya akas. Akash is the sky. He says, even the sky is blossoming. And now we're a little confused. And then he says, Ghat Ghat Maulya. Every heart that you have on these tables. In addition to the flower in the centerpiece, every heart is blossoming, he says. Ghat Ghat Maulya. And why is that? Atam Pargas. Because this Phulant Jyoti that Guru Nanak talked about in Rag Dhanasari is blossoming within. If this flower is blossoming within, that's why the principle of Chardi Kala. We have this principle, everything, we have an optimistic angle to everything. You can take a child who's a Sikh, or you can take a 90-year-old, a 100-year-old. You will always find a Sikh to be optimistic because their glass is always half full. And the reason is they're blossoming. And they will see people and they will be blossoming as well. Rag Basant. And I'm going to, I was going to end here, but there's one more thing I want to share. Perhaps by Guru Arjan Dev Ji. In just one line, he summarizes Guru Nanak's message and the garland of Guru Nanak. He says, Dekh phool phool phule, ahem tyag tyage. And the Basant is sung in two different ways. One is the Purvi Basant. I'm going to sing the second kind. Dekh phool phool phule, ahem tyag tyage, charan kamal paage, tum raho ek sabhage, har chet man mere, har chet man mere, har chet man mere, har chet man mere, dekh phool phool phule. The constraints of times are such, I'm only going to talk about the first line. And it says, Dekh phool phool phule. And it can be construed as to, look, the earth is flowering. How beautiful it is. The sky is flowering. Every heart is flowering. And I am flowering as well. It can mean that as well. But really the deep meaning, and everywhere you read the meaning of this line, if you consult every translation of the Guru, you will find, look, flowers are flowering. Dekh, look, flower, phool, phool, phule. Look, flowers are flowering. There is a deeper meaning of this line. Because there are no commas in the Guru, we forget there are multiple interpretations. If I add a comma, the whole thing changes into a deeper meaning. Dekh phool, phool phule. Looking at flowers, flowers flower. Dekh phool, phool phule. Looking at flowers, flowers flower. When we see something beautiful, when we see the beautiful people here who've done marvelous things, there's two ways to react to that. One is to be jealous and angry. That is not flowering. When you see a flower, you flower. You should be inspired by them. You want to be like them. The red rose, when it comes out, he doesn't say, look, I am a rose. I'm the king of flowers. I'm not going to flower. These other people are flowering. I'm going to flower at my own time. No, he flowers because the time is now. The time is now. Human life is now. We have this precious human life. Look at flowers and try to become the flower. Look at the garland of Guru Nanak and try to be like the Guru Nanak. Try to be inspired by the ones who are fearless and be fearless. Try to be like the ones who are helping others and help others. Dekh phool, phool phule. And that's why he adds the second line, ahem tyag tyage. Only when you give yourself up, you can be a flower. Because what does the flower do in the end? He gives up his life so there can be life eternally. That's why the flower is a Juni, because he lives forever. And that's why Guru Nanak lives forever. That's why we feel his presence today. Because Dekh phool, phool phule, ahem tyag tyage. And so, I look at all of you and I see pure souls. Pure souls who are, the listeners are the purest of souls, Guru Nanak says. Gaviye suniye man rakhe bhav. If you are listening with love, you are a flower. You are a flower today of Guru Nanak for me. He says, Gaviye suniye man rakhe bhav. Sing, listen but do all of it with love. That's a life lesson. Be a flower. Be the flower. Look at other flowers and then be like them. खालसा मेरो रूप है खास, खालसे में हों करो निवास. खालसा मेरो मुख है अंगा, खालसे के हों सद सद संगा. The pure ones are those who are with the Guru. And then they become what? The part of the Guru. And that's why when Guru Nanak sings, Nanak gupas mal, eni phuli ro kare, avar kya chuniye dal, his Guru Angad, his disciple, becomes him. And then he responds. He says, Nanak tina basant hai. Read the Guru Granth Sahib. This is the line right after these lines. And we sing them all the time. Nanak tina basant hai, jin ghar vasya kant. The people who have basant within them, people have eternal spring, the spring that we see around us. This human life becomes a spring if the one is within you. Nanak tina basant hai, jin ghar vasya kant. With the prayer that this one resides in us and we all become the flowers. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
I'll introduce the next speakers. My name is Gurpreet. The first speaker spoke of migration of the Punjabis, the Sikhs from India, Punjab, what is now Pakistan as well, to North America. We had a session in November where we had a speaker who spoke about the Punjabi migration to Canada, to Vancouver, and she spoke about the Komagata Maru incident. And then Dr. Kang spoke about the migration to America, to America. And it started in California with Stockton. And so it's a very interesting history of the Sikhs that I feel that newer immigrants don't always know the stories of the immigrants who've come before them and the kind of sacrifices and hardships that they went through to achieve what they have today. Immigration today is a lot easier in many ways. And then, so we had one migration story there, and then we had Shivpreet, who sang the garland of Guru Nanak from his words, his Bani. And then he spoke a different kind of migration of looking from outwards, from the outer materialistic world to your inward spiritual soul. So the migration from the outside world to the inside world that resides within you. And the next speakers, Dr. Gurpreet Ahuja and Dr. Jasjeet Ahuja, accompanied Sikhlens on the Sikhlens Heritage Tour to Pakistan. And so they will talk about the stories of a different kind of migration because when the Punjab was under the British rule and then the British decided when they left India to partition it into Pakistan and into India. But Sikh heritage, especially Guru Nanak's heritage, was mostly in the Punjab that is now in Pakistan. So it's a heritage that we have been separated from. And it's not very easy. If you're an Indian citizen, you cannot really go to Pakistan very easily to visit these places of worship and of your history that is more than 500 years old. And so Drs. Gurpreet Ahuja and Jasjeet Ahuja, please come up. And they are going to talk about some of the places that the migration of the Sikhs from Pakistan into India, that we've lost the heritage. We visited some of those places, and they're going to talk about those places that we visited earlier this year. So on to Dr. Ahuja.
Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
So it's a great pleasure and a privilege for us to be here. I'll let Jassi start. So this was a very special opportunity for us to be able to join the Sikhlens tour with Gurpreet Kaur and Vicky Singh past February when we took 12 days to go to Pakistan. I had never in my wildest dreams imagined that it would be possible for either of us in our lifetimes. And we say we belong to India, but it's interesting that for the vast majority of Sikhs, our parents became refugees within our own country, within the same subcontinent. And we don't think about it. We talk about refugees from here, there, and everywhere. But for the 45 people who accompanied this tour this year, every single one had their roots in what is present-day Pakistan. And all of them, including my parents and her parents, started with had been in for generations in what is now Pakistan, and with the partition of India, were displaced en masse in the process that led to the lost lives of 1 million people, as Dr. Kang was pointing out. And none of them imagined that they would ever be able to see their homeland again. And certainly our parents were not able to witness that, but we got that opportunity. And this tour was very extraordinary in that it not only allowed us to go back to the ancestral lands that our families belong to, but it gave us a flavor of Sikh history, the land of our gurus, the way the gurus had walked. It gave us a flavor of the Khalsa Raj, something that has been wiped out of the collective conscience of current day India. I grew up in India and moved here at 25, and we never were taught anything about Maharaja Ranjit Singh and his great secular empire, which had a 100% literacy rate. One of the great hallmarks of Indian history is not taught in our textbooks. For instance, we got a flavor of our Punjabi culture that we all can hail back to. And we were soaked in it. And then we got a sense of the interfaith relations that had allowed the country to stay together for centuries, and we'll give you a sense of that. So this was the group that went. There were 45 of us from various parts of the United States. And we got to visit many gurudwaras as part of our Sikh history tour. The first gurudwara we visited was by Baba Dera Sahib. This is where Guru Arjan Dev Ji, our fifth guru, was martyred. He died, and this is a place built in his commemoration. Many of us got to do kirtan there. This is one of the more tragic chapters. This is the Gurdwara built at the site of Singh Singhania during the 18th century in 1738 in particular. 100,000 people had died at this location in Lahore. The women were held in dungeons where when we read our Ardas every day, you learn about Savai Samaman, Ata Pisya, This is where those kids were tortured and killed and strung around their mothers' necks. And where many women died, committed suicide by plunging into the well right there. 100,000 people were killed during that process. We got to visit the birthplace of Ji. We got to visit some of the places that Guru Nanak Dev Ji had frequented during his many sojourns, the Char Udasis we talk about. One of the most beautiful places we visited was this Gurdwara where Guru Nanak Dev Ji had found water. This is called Baba Choa Sahib, and it was in a state of absolute disrepair until very recently. It is in a beautiful location at the foothills of the fortress of Hari Singh Nalwa. That's the fortress you're seeing in the distance there, in the background. And this Gurdwara has recently been built by the Pakistan Trust with support from outside. We got to visit Panja Sahib. We all, those of our Sikh heritage are familiar with Panja Sahib, the famous handprint of Guru Nanak Dev Ji from that time. And we got to visit Nankana Sahib, the birthplace of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. These were beautiful places, well built, very expansive campuses. But then we also visited some Gurdwaras which are in state of utter disrepair. These were beautiful places of art built during Maharaja Ranjit Singh's time or prior. And in the last 75 years, they are just falling apart from neglect, which was hard to see. The crown jewel was Kartar Sahib Gurdwara, Kartarpur Sahib Gurdwara, where Guru Nanak Dev Ji spent the last part of his life. And that was a beautiful campus built with a lot of support from Sikhs from abroad. But besides the Sikh tour, we got a flavor of the great Khalsa Raj. And part of that, we got to see the Lahore fort of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. This is the photograph of the saddle and the bridle of Maharaja Ranjit Singh's horse. And some of these photographs, paintings that you may have seen on the internet of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, Maharaja Sher Singh, were all from Princess Bamba collection. She was the granddaughter of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. And that particular photograph at the bottom is the grave of Princess Bamba. She had left England. She was Maharaja Dalip Singh's daughter, Prince Dalip Singh's daughter. And she went back and stayed as a by herself in solitude in Lahore and finally died there, and that's her grave. The famous painting of the Diwan-e-Khas of Maharaja Ranjit Singh and the real world Diwan-e-Khas that still exists in the Lahore fort. This is the turret. The top of this point is the Babaji's room or Guru Granth Sahib's room of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. That's where he used to spend time in solitude with Guru Granth Sahib. This is where he was born, a Haveli in near Gujranwala area. And this is the Haveli of by Naunihal Singh, or Prince Naunihal Singh, the third Maharaja of Punjab, who had a very short tenure as Maharaja before he was killed. The Sikh Raj was, as Dr. Kang pointed out, a very powerful force at that time that the British were not willing to take on. What took down the Sikhs ultimately was inner strife and some subterfuge and backstabbing by people who were part of the force or the administration. The final battle of the Second Anglo-Sikh Wars was fought in Chiliamala, and we got to visit that location. So it was like an extraordinary history tour for us. We got to have a beautiful picnic at the outskirts of Punjab, where it touches on Pathan region, Northwestern Frontier Province, as it was previously called. And it was a beautiful setting along the Indus River. We got a flavor of Punjab as I remember it from when I was little, growing up. And that still exists in current Western Punjab in Pakistan. And Punjabis are colorful people, so everything is festooned and well decorated, sometimes to the point of extreme levels. As you can see, the trucks, the trains, the rickshaws, the coaches, everything is colorfully done. So it was an extraordinary experience for all of us that we never had imagined would be possible. So I'm going to talk about, Jesse's going to talk about some of the more interesting aspects, perhaps the more intellectual aspects of the trip.
I think you can get a sense that this was really overall an amazing experience for us from many different angles. The spiritual journey, of course, was really important, and it was just amazing to be able to walk in those same places where we knew that our gurus had been. The historical pieces and the Punjabi cultural pieces, as Gurpreet mentioned, were also very important. And for those of us like myself who didn't grow up in India, who grew up here, it was a very unique experience to be submerged in that way and learn all of this history. But what I hadn't expected was the interfaith piece of this experience, and that's what I'm going to talk about for a few minutes. Everywhere we went, people were incredibly warm and welcoming. They would say, "Welcome home, Ji Aaya Nu." They would ask us for tea. They wanted to be photographed with us. They were so, so warm. And so, it made all of us realize that obviously there had been generations of coexistence in this land between people of different faiths. So I'm going to show you some of the beautiful interfaith places that we were able to visit. So this is the Badshahi Mosque, which is adjacent to the Lahore Fort, and it is one of the largest mosques in the world, and it is absolutely magnificently lit up at night and incredibly beautiful. This was another beautiful mosque, the Jamia Masjid in Rawalpindi. Beyond the beautiful coloring of this mosque, what was really interesting is that in Rawalpindi at that time, there were mostly Sikhs. So the architects were mostly Sikh. And so the people who had designed this Gurdwara were actually not as familiar with Mughal architecture. So you can really actually appreciate that this mosque is done in the architectural style of the Gurdwaras, particularly the way those gumbas are done. we visited a Buddhist stupa, and it was a very serene setting. We went to the Taxila Museum, where there were many beautiful Buddhist artifacts. We also visited a Zoroastrian temple in Rawalpindi and saw one of the Hindu mandirs there as well. There were many Sufi shrines along the way. And this particular one was Mia Mir's shrine, who is very important in Sikh history, as all of you know, because he laid the foundation stone at Harmandir Sahib. And while we were there, Bikki Singh and his group had arranged for this special Qawwali performance for us, and it was absolutely sublime. It was, for me, one of the most memorable experiences of the whole trip. Here's another experience that really made me think of my interfaith work. We were at Nankana Sahib, and as we were entering, Rara Sahib Path was being done. And then at the same time, you can hear all the Muslim call to prayer from all around the city. So some of the places that we went, there were actually mobs of people. The entire village practically had come out to see us. That's how warm and welcoming everyone was. And so it really made me reflect on some of the interfaith work that I've done here. And I can honestly say that when I started 2 decades or so ago, the thing that we were all striving for was tolerance. We talked a lot about tolerance, and I think very rapidly realized that that's a very low bar in the interfaith world, and moved on to try to come to a form of respect for each other's faiths. But really, this trip made me think that we should be aspiring to something even higher than just respect for each other's faiths. I'm going to give you just a small, quick anecdote. When we were in Rawalpindi, as Gurpreet mentioned, all of our parents are from that part of Pakistan now. My mother's family is from Rawalpindi. We were able to walk in that neighborhood where she was from. That was very special. And it gave me an appreciation of the geography a bit, so that I had to call her and say, "Mom, you know, you told me that you had gone to Punja Sahib Gurdwara as a child, and now I realize it's not that close to your neighborhood. How did you get there?" And she said, "Oh, well, Ali Amir used to take us." And then she went on to explain that Ali Amir was a gentleman in the neighborhood, and my Nanaji, my grandfather, was a professor at Gordon College, which was very nearby where we were. And in the evenings, he would do some private tutoring. He was tutoring this gentleman's 2 daughters in English, actually, and they became very close. He became very close, actually, Mr. Ali Amir, to my Nani Ji, and kind of adopted her as his daughter. So that whenever they wanted to go to the Gurdwara, he would drive them, because he was one of the few people that had a car. And so it really occurs to me that in our interfaith work, we should be striving or aspiring to help each other with our respective faiths. That's what this gentleman did. And really what I'd like to say is that our friend Gail has actually managed to do that in this interfaith space. She helps all of us practice our own faiths better. So for that, I thank you, Gail. You are really an inspiration. So we appreciate you very much. A few quick thoughts and a plug for this trip. The first picture is our young people that were on the trip, doing seva in the Gurdwaras. They had a great time. I would love to see more young people go on this trip. The second picture is Bikki Singh cooking. And pakode, hanji. it was very important that Bicky should be happy on this trip. He was happy while he was cooking. And the last picture is some of our Virjis who are resting and recuperating after some of us girls were doing some frenzied shopping in Lahore. So yes, they're in the massage chairs there. So there was really something for everybody in this trip, and I really thank you for letting us share some of our memories with you.
Yeah, and that's what traveling is all about. We need to open our hearts and our minds. We are all the same people, no matter what faith we belong to, or what culture we come from, or what color of skin we might have, or what our socio-economic status might be. We are fundamentally the same people. We create these artifices of differences which divide us. And in a time when our entire planet is under assault with climate change, whether we deny it or accept it is up to our intellect or the lack thereof. We need to come together to find a common solution to survive. And it's a matter of survival. We are all going to be fighting for survival very, very shortly. We're on the process. So it's really important that we come together, find the commonality amongst us, and pull each other up, just like Jesse was suggesting. So thanks for the opportunity. This was an opportunity for us to reflect more than anything else, and really enjoyed the whole experience altogether.
Thank you, Gurpreet.
So thank you to everyone for coming today. Thank you to all the deans who are here, all the Orange County supervisor and the politicians who are here. I'm sorry I can't name all of you. But thank you so much for being here today and for recognizing the Sikh community and the community, of course. And thank you to Dr. Kang and Shivpreet and everybody else who's here. And of course, the staff at Chapman who have done the setup and everything else. So thank you so much.